everybody, Prowl here, and welcome to another survival guide prepisode. And I think the last prepisode before we actually start the series. Today, we're going to be going over world settings, including me showing you the world settings that we're going to be starting out with on the guide. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. You get a lot out of it. I have a few secret things inside of this I want to explain to you that you might not necessarily know about, some options that you may find important for creating your new world, or an option that you would like to change your current world to. So make sure you stick around. If you enjoy these types of videos, you want to see more of the guide, press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn that notification setting on so you get notified of all videos that are coming your way. All right, let's hop in. Okay, so I'm sure many of you know exactly where to go, but in case you don't, you hit the play button. And to create a new world, you just go to worlds and you hit create new world. Now, when you first do this, you actually can create a world from a particular pack that you have, especially if there's a dynamic world, such as Realism Craft or Better on Bedrock. Those you're going to have to actually create the world with this pack. But if you're just starting a brand new world, regular world, go to create new world right here. And then this is where you're going to have all of your settings. And some of them I'm going to breeze over if they're very self-explanatory, but this is actually going to be our survival guide 1.21. Okay, now you can select creative or survival mode here. Survival, of course, being you go through the game in a survival like setting. Creative, where you can fly, get infinite blocks and all that kind of stuff. And you have your difficulty: peaceful, easy, normal, and hard. There's not a huge difference in normal gameplay between these. The biggest thing you may notice is like how much like creepers like blow you up when they blow you up, and if you have a problem early game fighting skeletons. Otherwise, there's not a big difference in these, but at the same time, you can change this whenever you want to, and you're not penalized for changing this whenever you want to. So I always play on hard. I enjoy the little bit of challenge that Minecraft does have. I want it to be a challenge to some extent. Also, there is a couple mechanics that only work in hard difficulty, such as villagers getting converted into zombie villagers when they're killed by a zombie. Only happens 100% of the time on hard. It's kind of a weird thing to have different, but it is. If you go on peaceful, no hostile mobs will spawn, and the neutral mobs that do spawn, if you attack them, they will not attack you back. That's how peaceful difficulty works. But on peaceful, there's a lot of things in the game that you cannot do. So even if you want to play on peaceful, you may have moments where you want to turn a difficulty setting on so you can get access to certain items in the game. Then you also have hardcore down here. Hardcore turns it into hardcore mode, meaning that if you die, that is it. The world is no longer playable. It's a really fun challenge for some, but it's not for everybody. Okay, moving on to advanced settings. This is where you can do a lot of different things. So first of all, there are some template world seeds that if you want to check them out and like start somewhere specific or close to something specific, you can use these templates. Otherwise, you can either leave this blank and you'll get a random world seed, or you could type pretty much anything in here. If you want to have a fun, unique seed, you could type in your player name here like this, and then this could be a seed that comes up. Or you can just type in a number of a seed that you've gotten from somewhere else. This right here is actually the seed number we're going to be using for the guide world. I will ask you, please do not spoil anything from me about this seed. The only thing I know about this seed is it has a location of where I want to make a base. That's it. I like to do everything kind of blind without anybody's help for the first time I do a particular thing. And then after that, I may use a utility like chunk base, or if somebody tells me it's not that big of a deal. You have flat world settings right here. If you put it on a flat world, you do have a lot of different presets here. This is actually fairly new for Bedrock Edition, and it's really nice. I do this a lot. You could have a void flat world that has no ground anywhere. That's kind of cool. You can have a world that's all water. You can have one that's called redstone ready, where you build on sandstone and the redstone kind of contrasts against it. I like to use this one a lot for my test worlds. You have just a lot of different ones, and you can see where it says like all of your different layering things here. Classic flat, there was always one grass block, 2 dirt blocks, and then 1 bedrock, and that was it. You go down the void. But if you wanted to do a flat world and have a little bit more of a world to actually play in, maybe some type of challenge, you could put it as overworld, and then it's kind of laid out more like the overworld is. There's a lot of different options here. All of it's going to be pretty fun to mess around with. Of course, we will not be doing that in our world. Starting map is kind of nice. It just starts you out with a map, helps you explore your world. Maybe we'll start out with a map. I don't see a reason why not. It could be fun and something that we can keep. So maybe we'll start out with the map. There's a bonus chest, usually gives you a couple basic supplies. There may be a list somewhere of what could possibly spawn in this bonus chest. It's not a lot, super early game stuff. We're not going to use that. Show coordinates shows your coordinates in the top left-hand corner of the screen. I always like to play with this one. Makes it a lot easier to find like where your base is and how to go in different directions by looking at the coordinates. Days played is another one that we're going to have on that just shows how many days that you've played in the world. In-game days, not IRL days. Recipe unlocking. We'll just unlock recipes as you collect items that are able to make those recipes. If you turn this off, then I think by default, just all the recipes just show up everywhere. But if you have it on, as you get materials, the recipes will actually unlock in your crafting table and you can then visibly see them. Fire spread is on by default. I always like to turn this one off mostly because lightning is really annoying. If you build something with wood and lightning strikes, it can burn the whole thing down. Or if you just have like a nice forest that you don't want to like do anything to. Lightning's kind of annoying. Really nice to turn this on in multiplayer worlds, especially if you have kids, because they might burn everything down. We all know little kids are pyromaniacs, so we'll keep that off. Then you have TNT explodes. That's easy. On or off. It explodes or it doesn't. Mob loot. Mobs drop items when killed. Don't know why you'd want to turn this off, but we're going to leave that on. Natural regeneration has to do with your health hunger bar. You can turn that off if you don't want to regenerate health from hunger. If you leave it on, which is the default setting, you do regenerate health with hunger. This is a nice, fun challenge one to do, especially if you partner with hardcore. You can't regain hearts by just eating. You have to get something like a potion that actually gives you hearts. Tile drops are just blocks drop when you break blocks. It's a pretty standard thing most people are going to want. Skip the night by sleeping. You can turn this off, meaning that if you sleep, all it does is set your spawn. It does not let you skip the night. Another fun challenge if you want to play hardcore mode. We're going to leave that one on though. And then this required player sleeping percentage. If you leave it to the default 100%, every player that's in the world has to sleep to skip the night. Whereas if you put it at 1, only one player, no matter how many players are online, 20 players, 50 players, only one of them has to sleep to skip the night. So you can kind of turn this anywhere within there. We're going to be playing a single player, so we'll leave it on all. Immediate respawn just means that when you die, you immediately respawn. You don't have a little pop-up that asks you if you want to respawn. Respawn blocks explode. That's beds and respawn anchors. Beds in the nether, respawn anchors in the overworld will explode by default. Your respawn radius, I mean, that's just gives you kind of like a somewhat random respawn area if you want it. Not really that consequential, so we'll leave that as is. And your simulation distance. This is a very important one for those of you that like to follow tutorials for things in the game. A lot of times those tutorials, if it matters, they will be set for 4 chunk simulation distance. Things that spawn mobs is where this is the most important. Think like general mob farms, creeper farms, anything that spawns mobs. Most people are designing those things with 4 chunk sim in mind. If you're playing on a multiplayer like server or realm, this is probably going to be 4 chunks unless you change it otherwise. On a server, on realms, you cannot change it. And this is the default setting on all like Minecraft Bedrock Edition systems, PC, console, mobile. It's always defaulted to 4. You can increase it, and I am going to increase it on our world here because the higher you make this, the further away things can be from you and still operate or happen. Like the game is, this is the area in which the game is updating itself for things that are going on. So an example to this could be a copper golem sorting a chest. It could be some type of redstone device. It could be a farm that you have that is farming sugarcane for you, or it could be like how far out mobs can spawn from you. So the higher this setting, the further away those things can happen. So I like to have it at 12 chunks because we're trying to be efficient here. And if I make something somewhere, I would like for it to be loaded if possible. Oh, another big one is like crops growing. So if you set up like a big crop field to get yourself some food that's just a tiny bit away from your base on 4 chunks, it's probably not going to be loaded while you're in your base. Whereas if you have the setting higher, it should work fine. And if you want to know what you should set this on for you, if you're on a mid to low range mobile phone, set it on 4 chunks. If you're on a older generation console, the Switch, the Xbox One, PS4, leave it on 4 chunks. If you're on anything above that, you can start to experiment a little bit, including, like, especially if you're playing single player. If you're on a new generation console, 12 chunks should be fine. I don't know about the Switch 2. Maybe a higher would be okay. On mobile phones, it could be any one of these, just depends on your phone, but we're going to be using 12 chunks. The multiplayer setting right here is just if you want the world to be multiplayer, you can turn this on or off anytime you want to. But if you don't want somebody joining your world just out of the middle of nowhere just because they're friends with you, turn this off. We're going to have this off. And if for some reason I invite somebody on this world with us at some point, like I might have my daughter help me decorate an interior or something like that, I might let her come into the world, or who knows, maybe I even invite another creator on the world at some point. I'll turn this back on then. As far as these other settings though, you could have it only accessible by invited players, friends, or friends of friends. Their default can be visitor, which means they can't really interact with or do anything. They can just kind of walk around and look at stuff. Member means that they can play in the world as of the settings that it has currently set. Operator means that they can change the world settings. Visible to land players is somebody that's inside of your house can get into the world. Friendly fire means you can hit other players. Turn that off means you cannot. Really great if you have kids, you don't want them to constantly kill each other like my kids like to try to do. Turn that off. And the locator bar will show you where players are around in the world. This is a pretty new feature. Nice to have one because it makes it easy to find your friends that you're playing with. Okay, then we have cheats. We're going to have cheats turned off in the world. There's no real consequence to clicking on cheats, except you cannot earn the like Xbox achievement stuff. If you care about that, then obviously you don't want cheats to be on. If you don't, then you can experiment with some of these things, and that's perfectly fine. Because after all, this is Minecraft. There is no real such thing as cheating in the game of Minecraft. You can only cheat yourself. That's the only person you can cheat, unless you do it in a multiplayer server. That's a whole different story. Anyways, so you have daylight cycle. That just means, does the sun move or does it not? If you set it to always day, it doesn't move. If you set it to normal, it does. And it goes through the normal day-night cycle. If you want to kind of attempt to play a harder difficulty than you're used to, or you normally play on peaceful, and you want to actually have some mobs in the world to fight, kill, get drops from, etc., put the difficulty on easy, normal, hard, and just turn on keep inventory. That means if you die, you just respawn with all your stuff. The only consequence is you just go back to wherever you set your spawn, and you set your spawn by clicking a bed. So super easy, no harm, no foul. Mob spawning, if you turn this off, mobs will not spawn. Mob griefing, if you turn this off, there's a lot of things tied to this. Creepers, when they explode, will not blow up your stuff. Endermen can't pick up blocks. Those both sound like good things, but like there's other things that aren't good too. Like if you want to feed villagers food so they breed, you can't do that with mob griefing turned on because the villagers won't pick up the stuff on the ground. So it's a little bit of give and take with mob griefing. I always leave it on. Entities drop loot. So non-mob entities like paintings drop items when destroyed. That's kind of weird that this is in the cheats area, but the other ones are not. Don't know why. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Weather cycle on or off. You can turn that on or off. Sometimes I wish this was off because rain and thunderstorms are annoying as a content creator, but that's fine. We'll deal with it. We'll leave it on. Command blocks on or off. And Minecraft education features on or off. All of this stuff is off by default when you have cheats turned off, by the way. And then random tick speed. This is something more for like if you're testing something with how fast copper ages, like I did recently. If you turn this number up, then the copper will age way faster. But 1 is the default. This is how the game normally plays. Next is resource packs and behavior packs. Hopefully you've already watched my video on add-ons. So I'm not really going to talk about these that much, but I will show you here in a little bit what I'm going to be using on the world to get started. And then your experimental features, you don't really need to mess with any of these. They just do different things, such as if you wanted to try out the villager trade rebalancing that nobody would ever want to try out because it's kind of terrible. And some of these other things may have to do with special add-ons that are developed with experimental features. Okay, so I did put together a package on Bedrock tweaks that I wanted to show you. That it's just all some basic cosmetic stuff, nothing too crazy. So we have Ashless Campfires, which just means the black ash won't be in the campfires. Makes them a little bit better for decorating if I decide to. I don't know if I will or not, but I thought that'd be nice to have in there. Dark oak leaves. Normally dark oak leaves and oak leaves are the exact same color. This makes dark oak leaves a little bit darker. Gives me one extra variant for a leaf if I want it. I've just always liked that. It just gives them that unique look when you see them. I have these peace and quiet features, makes minecarts, pistons, dispensers, and droppers more quiet than usual. We use a decent amount of redstone. I'll probably use a decent amount of redstone stuff in and around our base. So if I can quiet some of that down a little bit, it'll just be better for while we're recording together. Some basic utility things, melons and pumpkins will have different color stems, so you can look at them and tell them apart. This will be good for when I'm showing you guys things to do with melons and pumpkins. Your sticky pistons will show the stickiness on the side, the like slime particles on the side. So I will be able to show you guys those easier. Also directional hoppers and directional observers. So directional observers is like a little pointy arrow that shows you what direction observers are pointing in. I thought there was one for droppers and dispensers as well, but doesn't look like that there is. I think they're a little bit easier to tell anyways. So that's probably why there's not an extra one there. Unobtrusive rain, snow, particles. Those just make the rain particles and the snow particles less. So if I'm recording in those environments, you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on the screen. And a lower shield. So for whenever we're using a shield, it just sits lower on the screen. So this way it's not in your way when we're recording. And then trading helper, which allows you to see locked villager trades. I always use this. It just saves a lot of time. But when we get to villager trading, I'll make sure to point out and show how it looks in vanilla as well. So this will be what we're using. We may add little things in later. If and when we do, I'll be sure to tell you about them in that episode. And I will also include this list in the video description. All right, here we go. So we'll be applying our survival guide 1.21 Bedrock's tweak pack right here. And then also another one that we're going to be using in this world is going to be actions and stuff, because I really enjoy and love the fresh animations. So we will put that on as well. One thing that I think we will be sure to do here is we want actions and stuff to take precedence over anything that's inside of this pack right here. And we do want actions and stuff to be compatible with original Minecraft textures and our little add-ons that we have down there. So we're going to put it in 32x mode. And as far as world settings go, that's going to be everything. So I hope you guys liked this video. Next thing I'm going to be doing is clicking the create button and taking you guys into episode 1. Thanks so much for watching today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you on the other side of this create button. Bye-bye.